Why doesn't everybody grab their seats? Appreciate y'all coming out tonight to celebrate what the Lord's been doing. I'll tell a few stories. Come on in, folks. Good timing. Good to see you. And appreciate the bells. Let me have another shindig here. We're starting to start a pattern here. Gee, when I get out of prison, we may have to do another one when I Glad they let me out of prison every day. For those that don't know, I work full-time at the federal prison in Florence. Hi, Arnold. Thank you for educating me with your Facebook post. I was like, marriage licenses expire? She and Cody are playing games on Facebook. I had to call them on it. Well, we are here to celebrate what the Lord's done with the last 14 years. It took a lot longer than I expected, so I'll tell a few stories along the way about how the Lord has been faithful, and I want tonight to encourage you all. If you're going through something that's taking longer than you expected, there might be a reason why the Lord is having you learn patience like I had to learn as well. So go ahead with the first slide, please, Jazz. So I started the doctoral ministry program at Denver Seminary in 2010. I was getting off active duty and wasn't quite sure what the Lord was going to be doing. You know, I see Chaplain Colonel Jesse Staunton's here. He was kind enough, and Chaplain Andy Meverden, to let me join the Colorado Army National Guard as a chaplain. So that kept me busy part-time. School was considered full-time, and then, as I mentioned, for some reason, the Lord let me get really busy and work full-time at the federal prison in Florence as well as a chaplain. So I got to learn how to say no sometimes. So thank God I retired from the Army last year, and now we got this out of the way. So hopefully I'll have a little more free time to celebrate. Denver Seminary has a great program. I have two peers of mine. They just graduated last year. So it took them 12, 13 years. It shouldn't normally take that long to do a doctorate of ministry, but it's a really hard program, and we did what we could to get through it. So I salute my friends Linda and Tim Watson that got through the program there. Now, I learned that sometimes the way, and you probably already know this, sometimes the way we think we're supposed to go isn't the way the Lord wants us to go. So go ahead, go to the next slide, and I'll tell some more stories about that. So that's the federal prison. If you haven't seen it before down in Florence, I worked there full-time over the minimum security and the medium security prisons. We are short staffed, so if you know people looking for a job, bop.gov. And on Saturdays and Fridays, I'm the only chaplain on the complex. So there's about 2,500 inmates. I sometimes have to go to the high security, sometimes the maximum to take care of them. But that's how I started getting my counseling hours that I needed, was either at the prison or other places. Let's go ahead, go to the next slide, please. I also volunteered at the Dream Centers here in town. You may know that's a free women's medical clinic. Different churches came together to start it because, I don't know if you know this, there are more homeless women in Colorado Springs than homeless men. And so different churches came together and started the Dream Center, and I did some volunteering there to get my counseling hours. And I may do that later. You'll hear more about that later. So that was another door the Lord opened up for me to start getting the schoolwork done. And let's go on to the next slide. Chaplain Jesse knows I worked at Fort Carson's Hospital for a year and a half because the active duty let too many chaplains go, I think in 2010, so they called me back to active duty again to help out at the hospital. That's where I got more counseling hours, and I forgot that on the slide. Some of you guys know the 2nd Brigade there at Fort Carson. They were short, so they called me back for another year as well. So the Lord used the school, the Army, the prison to help me further my career, further my education, and get closer to finishing. Now, sometimes the Lord says, "Hey, sir, how are you?" We let an Air Force guy in here, Chaplain Colonel. We'll have an arm wrestling contest later. See, I have a feeling he's going to beat us. So just telling how the Lord sent me to Denver Seminary as well as the federal prison in Florence, Colorado, and part-time guard, part-time reserve, full-time when they needed me. So sometimes we figure out, like I did, that, oh, this wasn't where I was supposed to finish with Denver Seminary because, there's Julie. Julie knows this. Does the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies have pretty high standards to get licensed in Colorado? They do. So I salute her because she's licensed, and I hope to get there down the road. And Denver Seminary, even though it's a great school, didn't have enough counseling classes I needed to start the licensure process. So I had to transfer to another school in Erskine, South Carolina, that finally let me finish. I wrote a 185-page thesis on the Army Strong Bonds program, building strong and ready teams, comparing the two. And finally, it's very Army friendly, so they said, yeah, you're good, you're done. So let's see what the next slide is. I think we're almost done here. Yep, there's Erskine Seminary. So I decided, instead of going to graduation, I went to the mountains. I went to Spring Canyon. Officers Christian Fellowship has a retreat center up there. There's a mentor of mine, Chaplain Major General Doug Carver, and he comes up every year with other chaplains in the area. I know I've seen Jesse up there. I'd rather hang out with him and some chaplain friends than go back east with people, to be honest, I never met. And today, I wanted to have my party with you guys because I know you guys and love you guys. So instead of going to graduation, we're bringing the graduation here. I think the last slide I have is give you an idea about what I had to do the last 14 years. Bunch of classes at Denver Seminary, handful of classes at Erskine, and finally they said, yes, you're done. Now guess what, Julie? I'm not done because Colorado requires another class or two to start getting licensed. Now, Dr. Steve Spinella, I'm going to turn the mic over to here in a minute. He's been there, done that, went to Rice Seminary. He got, or Rice University, I can't remember. He's the licensed marriage and family therapist. He's been there, done that. So that's why I asked him to come to have the honor to put the robe on me and the diploma. So let's give Dr. Steve Spinella a hand.
So the first thing we want to do is we're going to graduate him. So you can go ahead and move your tassel to the other side.
Can I do it?
He didn't practice. This is the original time. You know, he didn't practice, right? So then we do two things for a doctoral. One thing we do is give him the diploma. The other thing we do is it's a hooding. So now you'll need to take off. We're going to put this hood on him, and you see, it's fancy inside. So it's because he's humble. So if let me
go down a step.
That'd be great because you're kind of taller.
I need to go down 2 steps. Let me know.
Even signed. You're Stephen Wayne.
That's me,
Satterfield.
Stephen Wayne
Okay,
Satterfield.
this is the right one.
It's legit. I didn't just print that off the internet.
Well, you could. Probably look even better. So, congratulations. And I really agree. One of the things I heard is he was sharing his journey. You know, the word that I think of when I think of Steve is persevering, because he just really has persevered, and it was a very long journey, and longer than you anticipated.
Oh, yeah.
But there is still more to life. You're still here, and God still has more for you in the days yet to come.
Mind praying for me as I try to finish this licensure process?
Well, yeah. Wouldn't it be great if he was licensed? We'd like to have a guy like this licensed. Okay, so let's pray. God, I just thank you for Steve. And thank you that you brought us together along the way. I pray that wherever he walks with you, whether it's in the prison or in the dream center, on the street, wherever he is, that you would be there giving your spirit, guiding his spirit to bring about what you desire, and that he would have words of truth and love that would be transforming to those that you have loved first, but that we also love in your name. And I just thank you for Steve. In Jesus' name, amen.
I do want to say, Dad, I'm